Write a short note on evidentiary value of confession. A confession is a statement made by a person accused of an offense admitting or suggesting that he committed the crime. It is considered one of the important forms of evidence in criminal law because a person voluntarily admitting his own guilt carries significant evidentiary importance. However, a confession does not automatically become sufficient for conviction. Its value depends upon the circumstances in which it was made and whether it satisfies legal requirements. The evidentiary value of a confession means the extent to which a confession can be relied upon by the court while deciding the guilt or innocence of. The basic principle regarding confession is that for it to have evidentiary value, it must be voluntary. A confession should not be obtained through inducement, threat, promise, force, or coercion. If a confession is obtained through any of these means, it loses its value and may become inadmissible in evidence because there is a possibility that the accused made such a statement under pressure rather than voluntarily. The law assumes that a voluntary confession carries reliability because a person ordinarily would not make a statement against his own interest unless it is true. However, courts generally exercise caution while relying solely on confessional statements because a confession may sometimes be false, mistaken, or influenced by external circumstances. The Supreme Court has held that every part of a confession need not necessarily be independently proved or corroborated. In Hem Raj versus State of Ajmer, the Supreme Court held that the rule of prudence does not require that each and every circumstance mentioned in the confession must be separately and independently corroborated. The court observed that if every circumstance obtained in a confession were required to be separately proved, then the confession itself would lose much of its practical significance because independent evidence would already be sufficient to establish guilt. Similarly, in Kashmira Singh versus State of Madhya Pradesh, the court observed that a confession can be used to strengthen other evidence already available before the court. The court states that there may be situations where a judge is not fully prepared to rely solely on other evidence, even though it appears sufficient. In such cases, the judge may use the confession to provide assurance and strengthen confidence in the existing evidence. Again, in Balbir Singh versus State of Punjab, the court accepted that a confession may be used to support and reinforce other evidence available on record. Illustration. Suppose A is accused of murdering B. There is evidence that A was seen near the place of occurrence and blood stains were found on his clothes. Later, A voluntarily confesses that he committed the murder. In this case, the confession may be used by the court along with other evidence to strengthen the prosecution's case. However, if A made the confession because of threats or pressure from police officers, then the confession may lose its evidentiary value. Conclusion. Thus, the evidentiary value of confession depends upon its voluntariness and reliability. A voluntary confession may be a strong piece of evidence, but courts generally prefer corroboration through other circumstances. A confession obtained by inducement, threat, or promise has little or no evidentiary value. Therefore, courts carefully examine confessions before relying upon them for conviction.